I mentioned in my review of Frankenweenie that Tim Burton's kind of at this point where he's trying to find himself as a filmmaker, kind of trying to decide what kind of filmmaker he wants to be. With Frankenweenie, it was him more or less trying to go back to his roots, trying to go back to kind of where he came from and where he started. With Big Eyes, I kind of get the feeling that he's entering sort of a new artistic period, because yes, there's some shades of Burton's use of colors, there's shades of his aesthetic there, but for the most part, this is probably the most contemporary film he's made to date. And it's pretty much to the point that during the time that you'll be watching this, you'll almost forget that you're watching a Tim Burton film. Big Eyes tells the story of Margaret Keane and how her husband Walter was taking credit for her famous big-eyed children paintings in order to basically sell them and become famous, leading to the well-known lawsuit that ended in a paint-off. The first thing you may notice is that this film does share a somewhat similar aesthetic to Edward Scissorhands, in the sense that we're treated to kind of a picturesque pastel version of 1950s America. However, that aesthetic slowly falls away as the bright, colorful optimism gives way to more realistic color arrangements as we kind of see the main character get embroiled in the more gritty realities of the life as an artist, especially an artist who is not allowed to take credit for her own work. The only real Burton-esque example of imagery that I saw is that he occasionally had a few moments in the first act where he kind of composed the image and had the colors so vibrant that it was meant to evoke, well, a painting. I mean, for example, there were the scenes with these hills, and they had kind of a soft focus at the crest of the hill, similar to how you would see a nature scene painted. And that's pretty much as close as we get to any real Burtonisms, more or less. And while there are some other striking effects, the film, for the most part, is pretty grounded, and even the striking effects that he goes for don't call too much attention away from the scene or the story that is being told. The only problem I kind of had with the way this film was shot is that there were a few moments where the composition felt a bit cramped. Now, I'm not saying that we're stuck with like a bunch of extreme close-ups like this, but more in the sense that it just felt like the camera was just a little bit too close. Like you were accidentally cropping out a good chunk of the composition, leading to just the framing looking just a bit weird with how the actors and the key props were positioned. I just kept thinking that with some of these shots, like if you only pulled the camera back just a little bit, the composition would have worked. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but that was the one thing that bothered me about the way this film was shot. When it comes to the acting, our two main leads don't disappoint. Christoph Waltz does a really good job playing the sly, suave salesman who's able to baffle you with BS so long as he's able to maintain control. And Amy Adams gives a really good performance as the artist who really enjoyed what they were doing until it got twisted into something that's lifeless and hollow. My favorite scene with these two actors is the final courtroom scene, because here you get to see some of the more subtle aspects of their performance that are pretty much carried just by their facial expressions and the stark contrast between their body language. I mean, Walter is like large, expressive, and bombastic, whereas Margaret is, well, contained, reserved, doesn't move all that much, and is basically only communicating mainly through her facial expressions. And it's actually really fascinating to watch, just seeing these two characters play off of each other in a very volatile situation. They had such a good chemistry that it felt really believable and was just really fascinating, just seeing one who's really expressive and one who's more stoic. Overall, it's well crafted, and it shows that Tim Burton can make a more grounded and contemporary film. He knows what he's doing, and he does it well. Will it appeal to his old fan base? Probably not, as there's no shade of any of the German expressionistic style that he's known for, but frankly, that's probably for the best, because that identity is ultimately what made his career kind of go down the tubes in the first place. So, if you're looking for the old style Tim Burton, you're not gonna find it here. But if you're looking for an engaging film about the life of an artist that's being told by an artist who's kind of evolving his identity, evolving his style, then I highly recommend this film, especially if you're someone who's looking to make a career in the arts, not just film or creative storytelling, but if you're into painting, drawing, if you know what it's like to be an artist, then you'll definitely appreciate the story and its presentation. All of that said, Big Eyes gets a 4 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.